this is the home page on, I've got Evolve, so this includes workflow as well, but it looks exactly the same for Studio Manager with a few less options. So it'll show what I've been doing, any kind of counts of processes and so forth, any tasks or templates that are my favorites, any notifications. If we expand this, we'll see a number of options, and depending on your permissions, I'm in what we call an app, so this is how you can segregate those scripts and templates. So there's a number of them. I'm in mine. And then if you are an administrator, you'll have a configuration option, otherwise you won't. And for the solutions, this is where any kind of Excel, workbooks, queries, transactions, and if you have full Evolve, your forms and reference data will show up here. And this is your library, basically, of scripts and templates. There's also reports and operations you can basically check to see what's going on. So that's a little bit about what it looks like. And so from an end user perspective, or let's look at the developer side first. So my goal is not to teach you how to do everything in Studio. I just have an FB01 script I already created. I've mapped it to a template. And you'll notice I have a test button, which means I can only test against a non-production SAP system. And I would only be able to run against a production system. And again, you designate that here in Evolve, and you actually set up your SAP credentials to those systems here as well. So you can designate a system production or non-production. So you can't run against a production system until it's been approved. So I can test it, I can validate data against a non-production system, and then I can actually run against a production system. And you'll notice now schedule on server is not yet enabled because it's not been submitted and approved. So what I need to do, there's an extra tab here for Evolve. We'll go ahead and submit it. And if you've used user governance or foundation, or you're using Evolve, it should look familiar. So single or multiple scripts, we'll choose the one. There's my template. It's going to check the template and make sure it's good. If there's a version out there already, it'll ask about creating a new version. Then you can choose the review process for the data. So by default, there's no data review. You can also use one step and what we call two steps. So one step would be where I submit it to an approver. Let's say it's Tiffany. She approves it, and she becomes the person then who posts it. Or you review it, send it to Tiffany. Tiffany approves it. It comes back to me, and I post it. And with full Evolve, you can use a custom workflow. I'll go ahead and leave no data review right now. It's going to go into the transaction library. It's a transaction script. And then I'll choose from a list of approvers, and there's a specific group that people get assigned to be an approver. This could be your power user in the business unit. It could be somebody in IT. And we'll go ahead and click Next. You can also turn off assigning yourself. This is a demo, so I'm playing all roles. You can add any kind of supporting data that you would like. And then you'll have a quick review. So there's my script, there's my template, no data review. Sigrid will be the reviewer, no supporting documents, and this is the site and the app that it will go to. So we'll go ahead and submit. And then there's a couple of ways that you'll be notified. You'll get an email. You can look at tasks on the Evolve site. As a developer, you can also check any kind of workflow tasks here. So you can choose to, here I have to review it. I can open it and test it. I can simply go ahead and approve and say approved. And basically now this is ready. So when I come back here to my different solutions, and let's go ahead and refresh. So there is my basically solution name, and the status is production. So once it's in production, now if it meets certain criteria, you can actually run it. So in Excel, I'm already logged in, and I'm pointing to my Sigrid app. And I'll hop over to this tab in Evolve, and I can open templates, and I can choose the type, or if I just click on templates, it'll give me the option to filter it, so I'll filter it. Here you'll see my FBO1, it's in production status, and when I open it, it will open a copy, and you'll see there's just a couple of documents. It's not a big thing. Normally these would of course be empty, but I went ahead and pre-populated it. So we can come over here and actually run it. We no longer have the test button, but we can also schedule now on server. So if I click schedule on server, it's going to save a copy on the server so that I can run it. And then it will say which system. So I'll choose my production system. And then when do I want to run it? You can choose, a specific day and time, maybe at midnight, and click finish. Oh, sorry. It's pointing to midnight yesterday. Here we go. So midnight. And that's it. We're done. I could have also validated and simulated here, but that's the process. So that's one for transaction. I wanted to show one for query. So, I have a query here, and it's just one table. This happens to be profit centers. Set up my criteria, map it. In this case, I'm mapping it to a SQL table. And I've already run it, but I have not submitted it yet to the Studio Manager site. So if I come over here to Evolve, I'll go through a very similar process to submit. And again, we have to choose an approver, choosing myself. And since this is a mapping to a SQL table, there's no data template. But if you had a data template, that would be also included. And we'll go ahead and submit. And that approval, again, has to happen. So we'll go ahead and approve it. So now you could, if it was mapped to a template, of course, you could go ahead and choose to run it and schedule it from there. But what I'm going to do instead is this is that library of all of the queries that are on my Studio Manager site. So I can choose to open it. And if I come over here to run, now I can schedule. So I want to refresh this. It's a lookup table. So I've got some hard-coded values, so it's going to be English language. It's valid from today. So every time this runs, it's going to look at the date of today and use that as input parameters. And I can either limit it to a specific controlling area or leave it wide open. So search criteria are important when you're scheduling this. Choose the system. So in this case, it's an S/4HANA system. Leave that. And the credentials for SQL kick in here. Oops. So I'm breaking the rules here. Typically, you would want to use a service account for anything that you're going to do recurring, and that's what I'm going to choose this time. My Windows password expires every 90 days or so, whenever IT makes me change it. So this would be a good use case for a service account. I'll go ahead and click next. And now I can choose, I can do it the one time, like with transaction. I can do it daily and choose when I start. I can do it weekly, monthly, or yearly. So for me, I want to do it daily. I'll start it tomorrow, and I'll run it at 1 o'clock, let's say, and finish. So now this is scheduled to refresh. And if I come back here to Evolve, we'll take a look at the calendar. So there's a number of what we call auto run jobs here. So if I click on one, this one is for my journal entry post that I scheduled. And it was at midnight. So this is who created it. So you can interrogate that. If I come back, look at this. Another one, this one is my SQL query, and it's recurring. And you'll see that it's daily at 1 a.m. So You can come in here and tweak it if you need to, but basically you can keep track of what's gone on here. The other part of this is we took a look at the different scripts that are available here for transaction as well as query. If you come here now to the data files, you can basically see any of the data files that were run regardless of how they were run and take a look at the history. So let's go ahead and open another example. So I'll come in here and look at my data templates. In this case, it's transaction, and I have one that is changed for materials. So it's material creation. Again, this could be material update. So it's creating materials, and there's a number of fields included here. And then it will create info records and source lists. So because this is changed as one transaction, it can run here as basically scheduled. So you come here, there's just the one script, and you can schedule on server. Again, it's going to upload a copy. Choose the system. And I'll choose to run this, let's say, during this webinar so we can see what the message is. Go ahead and finish. So that one has been submitted. Again, this could be creating or updating lots and lots of materials, and we have a lot of customers that do that. We go ahead and exit this, and we'll show you one of the queries. This time it would be in a template. So we'll use the change log. And again, you'll still have the option to run it, right? It's been approved, and if you need to run it real time, you can do it right now. But you can also schedule. So we'll go ahead and schedule on server. And again, it's going to leverage search criteria. So there's a number of geeky fields, but basically it's any of the T codes that are used to update vendor from the start of the month to today. So those are ways to set up a relative date. You can also use date map by adding or subtracting number of dates. So relative dates are a good idea for these recurring queries. And I'm using just payment terms, but again, you could have a number of fields. So go ahead and click OK and choose the SAP system. And then again, I could choose to do this whenever I want. So in this case, I might want to run it daily. And go ahead and run it at midnight starting tomorrow. So now I can get this refreshed, and all I need to do is go to the server and grab it after it's done. Hopefully you're getting the idea. I wanted to show one other example that included a data file approval. So let me go ahead and find it. So this one, if I start typing, it's assets. So there it is in production. And it uses a query to populate depreciation areas, and there's a number of formulas to, basically blank out or skip or post those depreciation areas. It's also doing an acquisition, and then it's creating equipment associated with that asset, as well as adding characteristics. And all of those are chained together. So again, I pre-populated this just for demo purposes. And I could go ahead and validate this, but you'll notice I have a test button. So that's the clue that it's either one, not in production status, or two, it has a data approval. So basically, open this, you could save it, populate it with data, and when you're ready, you'll come over here to submit it to people or the Studio Manager. So these are little simple out-of-the-box approvals. So it's auto-numbered it for you. You could overtype that. That's the solution name. And then it's either going to, it's a one-step approval. So this is where I send it to Tiffany. Tiffany approves. She could post it. In this case, we have the ability to automatically run it on the server after approval. So all she has to do is look at it, approve it. If the approval is positive, then it will automatically run on the server. Otherwise, you can choose to schedule it to run at another time. So we'll go ahead and just do an auto run. And this is where, again, you'll choose the approver. So I'll choose myself from the same approval group or a potentially different one, and then choose the system that this will go to. So this one's running on our S4HANA system. We could include supporting documents and then go ahead and submit it. So now it will kick off an out-of-the-box workflow. So this is something that comes with Studio Manager. It also comes with user governance. And I'll be able to see if I have tasks here on the site. And there's one that's a data review. I'll have an email, and we can take a look at some examples there. I can also look at my tasks here on the Evolve tab. So I'll go ahead and see, and if I'm part of multiple processes, I'll have a tab for each with all of the items that I need to review. So we'll go ahead and click to review it. I can open it up and take a look at the data that was entered for assets, take a look at the data entered for equipment, and if I'm good with it, then I can either approve or reject. So I'll go ahead and approve. And this one, it's a setting that allows you to change by the approver. Maybe the approver decides don't run this right away, they could schedule it, but the default is whatever the submitter selected. They can put in some comments and go ahead and click approve. And now that data file will run on server. As this has been going on, if we look at this particular asset example, you'll see this one is in the process of posting. If I come here to take a look at the process history, this is the workflow, and basically if we expand this, you'll see here, I approved it, this was the step, this is when it was created, when it was due, it's been approved. And then unlike foundation and user governance, all of the background information about the run is included here in this process history. So it shows whose actually credentials we're going to use. And again, this was the approver, and that it was picked up. It gets a little geeky, but this is one of the workers that is running in Studio Manager that it started and completed. And we'll be getting email notifications. Again, I'll show you those in a little bit. So you can basically audit, who submitted it, who approved it, if it was run, the details of the run, and then you can come in, of course, and take a look at it. So it's this one that we just did. I can go ahead and open it in Excel. Actually, yeah, so we're going to open it up and we'll be able to see all of the messages. All right, there we go. I didn't wait long enough. So you'll see there the assets were created. If we scroll over, scroll a long way over because there's a lot of depreciation areas. This is with acquisition. We used a BAPI script for that. And then we've got the equipment created. And we scroll over some more, you'll see the class characteristics that we added to the equipment. Again, all of this can be run on server, and in this case, there was a data file approval that went along with it. Let me hop back to my desktop. So I wanted to show these usage reports live. So there's all kinds of reports that come out of the box with Studio Manager and Evolve. I created a slightly customized one. It's pretty simple to do. Maybe we can do a webinar on that sometime. And this is basically the usage detail, and some of it's compressed. So forgive the display. It's basically the script that was run, the data file, when it was run, the system, the SAP user, the Windows user, how much data was processed, how long it took, which T code. And what you can do is basically set up filters. So it's a manual run, which again would be open and press run on server. So I filtered by run on server. You can also run a script as a web service in a form if you have full evolve. You can also, set up filters for who, T-code, SAP systems, and so forth. So all of these will run on server for transaction or direct, and we have something similar for evolve. I'm sorry, for query. So this is one that gets run. It's one of our templates for material details.